I want to jump to this story, give you guys some optimism here. Cyclists no-show post-race podium after biological male finishes first in female race. That's the story. Take a look at this picture. The women refuse to show up. So I think this is the start of something good. There's another story that we have. I think it's it's this one. Losing to a trans rider hurts on a million different levels. 24-year-old cyclist abandons Olympic dream after sickening losses to biological male and protests from Antifa gun club. Not only that,
that's terrorism.
But apparently this biological male who won physically attacked another rider.
This is wild.
There's a video from was posted on April 26th.
It's from Cyclocross, yeah.
Cyclocross, and the biological male, Riley Gaines, tweeting it, physically attacks and tries to knock down a woman, and then that woman never races again.
Yeah,
crazy.
See, they find all the ways to get the performance enhancing drugs out of them, so now they just have to go and compete against women. That's
well, I mean, take a look. I mean, this is good for these women. I've been saying this.
Yeah.
Stop showing up.
That's a dude.
And so this is a biological male who won the women's race, and the other women are like, the females are like, no, we're not gonna go on the podium. It's also like, remember when they had it was Leah Thomas won, but then the other one refused to stand next to Leah Thomas. I think that might have been Riley Gaines, right? Not entirely sure.
I don't know if that was.
So this is the kind of stuff that I'm talking about with. I don't think the left ideology can actually survive. It's like saying you can build a building. Imagine these people tried building a building, and just imagine what happens. I think everyone goes, oh, okay, now I understand. Like, it's not going to stand up. It's going to be crooked. It's going to be slumping over on one side. And it may stand for a little bit. They may have guards surrounding it with guns. They may not let you come in. They may, in fact, kick you out of your own building nearby. But sooner or later, that thing comes crashing down. Because there's a logic and order to building a system. They can come out and claim, you know what's happening? These people have started building a structure. And then all of their friends are going, your structure is so amazing. Who needs I-beams? We don't need support columns. Like, what are you talking about? And then they're like very happily toting along, building this thing. And then one day it just crumbles because no one actually believes it. They're just trying to keep their head down. Nobody wants, it's the emperor having no clothes. Nobody wants to be the person to tell the king he's naked.
Well, that's what happened with Chernobyl. No one wanted to say, hey, there's a problem. They were afraid to tell people. And because of that, that made the meltdown, so much worse. If I understand correctly, the meltdown could have been prevented if they would have actually had the balls to tell the people in charge that there was a problem. But they were afraid to tell that there's a problem with the nuclear reactor.
Nobody wanted to be that person who was removed from the photograph with Stalin.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know what that guy. Guys, what was his deal? You know that meme though, right?
Yeah, I don't know the particular story behind it.
How did
but
he
I
do
know
that? That's
it was
impressive.
Multiple people. That happened to multiple people.
Yeah,
over
he
the
would
course of time.
deperson them and then have his artists, like the Soviet artists, just go through and remove them and repaint the picture, just like we do now with like a smartphone and like Photoshop, etc. Just literally do Photoshop in 1930s and 40s.
And
that's actually impressive back then. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's crazy.
I mean, essentially, that's what canceling is now.
Yeah,
it's
the same thing.
It's the same idea. It's a little bit different than actually killing people, but like when you cancel someone, you remove them from polite society, and they're pariahs, and people don't want to associate with them, and so it's the same thing, but in a digital world as opposed to just.
So you had like an actual clone stamp tool in the 1930s to just remove people from the portrait. That's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
It's really impressive.
I mean, to your cancel culture point though, like I feel like more things like this happening is effectively, canceling this trans ideology that's running rampant across our country. And I think as conservatives, for a long time, we've been very scared to kind of embrace cancel culture. But I honestly think, there are some things that we should cancel. There are some things that are not conducive to like good societies.
This cancel culture was always the left digging up a tweet from someone from 10 years ago and getting them fired.
Right.
And so then we saw stuff like Mike Cernovich pulling up jokes from James Gunn, and then James Gunn got suspended. He got fired, but he got hired back. It's not cancel culture to be like, hey, we don't want women's sports to be dissolved.
Right. But I do think, we've bought into this fallacy of like the marketplace of ideas and every opinion should be heard and it's a great opinion. Opinions like this, are damaging to people. It should not be heard. It shouldn't be told to your children or encouraged in schools or anything like that. So, I think there always will be some orthodoxy that's enshrined in the public square. There is no such thing as like live and let live, do what you want. Something is going to dominate the culture. So we need to make sure that what's dominating the culture is something that's good and going to encourage our society to, just like do well and to help people and let people live freely and great.
I agree to a great deal. I'll push more on the freedom of speech component of this in that we don't want these people secretly indoctrinating kids. We want them to come out, show the book, and then we can be like, and here's why they're wrong. Because otherwise they'll find creepy ways to do it. But I suppose the fair point is it's better that you remove most overt ways of doing it. And then they're probably in the shadows even right now. You know what I mean? So I think my realization came when, partly from a lot of this, that it doesn't matter what your principles are. It matters where your moral line is. So the left argues they think parents have the absolute right to determine what's best for their kids. But then they don't care that schools are saying, don't tell your parents. The right says parents have the absolute right to determine what's right for their kids, but the government should intervene if a parent tries to give their kid a sex change. Both groups will argue the same sentence, but then perform it in different ways. And it's similarly to how Scott Adams says, we're all watching one screen, but seeing two different movies. Yeah. If that's the case, you have to realize moral framework is what unites a people. I mean, I think you said if you have no culture, you have no country. Yeah. And that's completely true. Right now in the United States, there's no cohesive culture. I
mean, we can't even agree on what a woman is. So yeah, no, there's no founding value system that everybody prescribes to.
But this is what we have to realize. We can agree on what a woman is. It's just that there is a psychotic death cult that can't. But why are we acting like we're on par with them? Imagine you were the CEO of a large media company and the guy who runs the hot dog stand downstairs starts demanding you debate him because he's a CEO as well. It's like, well, come on, look, man, I'm managing 3,000 employees in this building. We're managing assets in the billions of dollars. You have a small business, which I respect, but you are not in a position where you're going to tell me. So this guy running the hot dog stand is like, you're completely wrong about interest rates. Let me tell you. And it's like, look, man, your ideas about what an interest rate is, he comes out and he says, interest rates are not mathematical, they're alphabetical. And you're like, okay, that makes literally no sense. Well, I insist it's true. Then a bunch of his buddies show up and demand you do a TV interview debate. No, come on. If somebody wants to come out and argue they don't know what a woman is or make some nonsensical claim, we should just be like, you are a fringe group of people. This is the argument they make. Don't platform these people. It's like, I'll say the same thing back. Why should we entertain their opinion?
It's tough because I was just having the same kind of conversation today with a friend, and he's like, he had an issue with me complaining about communists, which, surprise, surprise, I'm complaining about communists. Weird. But he had an issue, and he's like, well, blah, 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 this person, that person. And he starts talking about the right having, the extremist far right having access to power. And I'm like, what are you talking about, the extremist far right? And then he's like, well, Tucker Carlson and Alex Jones. And it's like, these people are not extremist far right. He's associating them with Nazis, and he's saying, well, that Nazi kid had dinner with Trump, and it's like, well, Trump's kind of a moron for doing that. That was a terrible idea. Milo's the guy that made it happen. But like, the idea that the far right, actual Nazis, have influence in the culture is, to me, ridiculous. Like, everybody has their spider sense super tuned in for Nazis, but no one does for communists. But the way he sees it is like the communists are all fringe and they have no power. I'm like, AOC and Bernie, and
There's one simple way to test whether or not the right is the cult or the left is the cult.
But this speaks to the one movie, two different screens.
Well, so I thought about this a long time ago. I'm like, these people keep saying Trump supporters are all in a cult. And I'm like, well, I want to make sure there's a check on my reality. I don't want to be trapped in a bubble. Am I wrong on this one? Let me ask you, Kingsley. Do you think that you can be a conservative and pro-choice?
No.
Most conservatives I ask say that. They say that that's like the hardest line on what makes a conservative. The left literally argues with me, calling me far right, despite my opinion on abortion being traditional Democrat pro-choice. Yet conservatives will be like, oh, that's the liberal position. We'll have a conversation. We'll disagree. Seamus and I will make jokes all day and then disagree on very strong issues. If you understand the differences between a conservative and me, you're not in a cult. But the left can't tell the difference at all. They see everybody in this room and they see far right. It's the meme where they're in they're in the communist tanky corner and everyone else is a Nazi. And it's like, if you can't see the difference in politics between Brett, me, Luke, Ian, Seamus. I mean, Luke and Seamus's politics are also very, very different. And we come on this show, we have eclectic voices, and then we talk about it. They can't tell the difference.
I spent half the day with like my mentions full of like Catboy Cum Hunter fans complaining that because I made a joke about him, and the other time was arguing with a left-leaning guy about me being associating with far right people, while the far right, the Nazis are in my mentions calling me a Jew lover, or Jew, like literally just like, you're a Jew, and I'm like, oh, I don't have a problem with Jews, but I'm not Jewish. You know?
I love that.
Yeah,
the person who kept super chatting being like, when will you answer? Someone did a review and found that like 25% of all the guests on the show are Jewish or something like that. I don't even know that's true. And they're just like, can you explain this? And I'm like, what? Like, what do you mean explain it?
Was there a number that was the correct number?
Right?
Look, if you think there are too many Jewish people on Timcast IRL, up your game, do something worthwhile, and get on Timcast IRL. Stop complaining that there are people that are doing things that are Jewish on IRL.
Okay, did anyone do a breakdown on how many Christians come on this show? I am not a Christian, but we have a very, very heavy, disproportionate amount of Christians who come on the show.
That would be a lot.
And Seamus literally talking about like sin and God and faith and stuff regularly. But nobody comes on and be like, how come you have so much God love on your show, Tim? And then Ian is some kind of like, was Ian atheist?
I don't
He's
know.
not anymore.
I don't know.
He talks a lot about God and the importance of it, but he's certainly not
Very
into
spiritual
theology.
now.
He's elevated to a higher being now.
Yes,
much higher than
yes.
that.
Well, yeah,
in a lot
I
of
mean,
ways.
that's what happened. I mean, the reason he's not here is because he ascended to a higher plane of existence.
He's actually above us right now.
Yeah, we're hoping he comes back.
I hope so.
Part
I
of the
love
reason for that is that it really is true that I think if you have anything, right of, what is now far left in society, which is now, the Overton window is shifted so far that what is normal, if you're anything to the right of that, you're challenged on a daily basis with your media, with the news that you choose to partake in. You're constantly having your viewpoints checked because there are people that you're going to be watching, whether it's on social media, whether it's the news, if you're in an airport and you're watching CNN, whether it's the television and the movies you watch, which are all at the very least liberal orthodoxy, if not left, far left, going further left. You're constantly being challenged. Therefore, you're forced to, on a regular basis, see the ideas of people you may disagree with. And that kind of hardens your core to be able to take those concepts, internalize them, understand what they're saying, still understand what your position on it is, and either make your argument back or just accept that that person believes what they want to believe. And that's fine. The people that fall into the dogma that is the left now, they get news that reaffirms their beliefs. They get movies that reaffirm their beliefs. They get music that reaffirm their beliefs. They aren't really ever exposed to viewpoints that they don't agree with. And when they do, it's on social media and it becomes a re-fest where they argue with you and then they block you or they turn off their mentions
Or
so that you can't respond.
they get so destroyed in the chat they have to go to the hospital.
I mean, that's another great point that I didn't bring up to my friend that I should have brought up.
That kid
Like,
went to the hospital, dude.
Yeah, that's
Poor guy has.
You saw that?
Yeah,
Kingsley?
that's insane.
It was a Nuance bro. Owned a leftist so hard he checked himself into the emergency room, to the ICU, and they gave him like an IV for fluids and stuff. Like, what? Dude? I thought it was fake.
He should
Like,
never.
I thought he was joking.
He should have never told that because now Nuance Bro can wear that badge forever.
Right.
yeah, true.
There will be merch for that.
For sure there will be.
I'm worried now about having Nuance bro come in because he might put us all in the hospital. You know what I mean? He could seriously hurt us with his mad debates.
He should sell hospital wristbands.
You hear? I'm sure someone can tell him. Tell Nuance
tell
Bro.
him.
Yeah, I survived a debate with Nuance Bro. If you debate Nuance Bro, you get a hospital wristband that says "I survived a debate with Nuance Bro."
That is actually a really good merch idea.
That would be great. Do it, Nuance Bro. Come on, man.
Yeah, you got to do that, man. That's good.
But it's kind of crazy that he didn't actually do that much. He just told the kid he was wrong.
Well, I mean, he was so dramatically wrong, and it kind of makes sense why. Like, if you think that's going on, which I can't imagine.
For those that don't know the context, the kid said that 30% of black people were being killed every year by police. And he was like, they would be gone in 3 years. There'd be no black people left. And that's crazy.
Yeah, and it's because of the narrative that comes out that, again, is constantly shoved down people's throat from the left. And people like even LeBron James, I brought it up the other night, he's talking about, we're hunted in the streets. It's like, that is so far from true. And it's so hyperbolic that people, it's no wonder why there are like people that are low information that are like, man, I'm going to die.
The streets of Calabasas.
Yeah, man, for real.
If it was true that police were killing 30% of black people every year, this show would be called Antifa IRL, and I would be one of the most prolific organizers resisting all of that and fighting to stop it.
It's incredibly ridiculous. I mean,
but anyway, so that's the context, and this kid ends up checking himself into a hospital. It's crazy because he learned the world wasn't as bad as he thought. He even says is 15 to 20% fair, and they're like, what?
No, millions of people is not fair. That's just not fair.
Millions of people being shot and killed in the streets every year, innocent, like not happening. But he genuinely thought that this is what happens when these kids grow up in the internet cult. Yeah. They think this stuff.
And when you look this stuff up, even if you were to go to look up the statistics, you have to go 4 to 5 pages down before you actually get to any type of demographic data. And before that, all you get is New York Times articles, Los Angeles Times articles, and they're all over the top.
Yeah.
And they all have the headlines that we all know that are designed to, you don't even get past that. You get to the headline and you get scared and you get angry and you don't actually look for further information.
From now on, I'm going to say that was a deepfake. So now if they're like, didn't you see that video of that guy? And I'll be like, which one? And I'll be like, that right-wing guy, that was a deepfake. You didn't see that? That was fake. It's not real anymore. Nothing's real. You're wrong.
Deepfakes are...
My sources are real videos. Your sources are all deepfakes. Next question.
Yes, that's actually a great technique.
Well, because, I'm like, in 10 years, we won't be having these conversations because nothing will be real anymore.
Yeah, it'll be AI doing it for us.
It's not that. It's that you won't be able to know. We're very, very close to the point where you just can't know. I mean, did you guys see that video, that photograph of Trump running through DC with Sonic the Hedgehog? Like, was that real? I can't tell. No, that one was obviously fake. But because Sonic didn't look real, his hair was off. But
they should have used the Sonic from the original design from the movie that everybody hated so much.
Well, I just asked Midjourney to do it. I can't tell it to make
use bad Sonic.
Use bad Sonic with the weird teeth.
Don't look up bad Sonic either on the internet. That's a whole nother thing that you don't want to
know. But my point is, right now we still have the ability to know what's true and what's not, but it's getting harder. And we are standing on the edge about to experience something crazy. In a few years, I think even next year, when there's 8,000 videos of Trump doing weird things and you can't tell if it's real or fake,
it's going to be hard.
Thanks for checking out this segment from the Timcast IRL podcast. But if you want to check out the full show live, tune in Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. And if you want more special access content, head over to timcast.com and become a member. Your membership helps sustain this company, keep our journalists employed, makes this show happen, and you will get access to exclusive members-only segments of the Timcast IRL podcast, and there's a massive library to check out. So again, go to timcast.com or tune in Monday through Friday at 8 p.m., and we'll see you all there.